morning all, my name is B. Santhosh Kumar, Assistant Professor, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. My subject is image processing. Today I am discussing about opening and closing. So, when I am going for the input image, any of the input image and we are taking as a coordinates of x and y. So, this input image we are dividing as a two types, opening process and closing process. So, any of the input image, two differences are there, opening and closing. Okay, we are dividing as a two types, opening process and closing process. So, when I am going for the opening process, erosion process and dilation process. In the closing process, dilation process and erosion process. You can observe here, opening means first erosion is important, after then dilation important. When I am going for the closing process, first one dilation, after then erosion. Okay, these are the different differences of erosion and dilation. So input images are majorly opening process and closing process. What is opening and what is closing we will discuss now. So it is one example of original image, that is the input image. So it is the erosion, dilation, opening and closing. So when here we are applying the morphological images, ME, morphological operation. So four basic morphological operations are used in the process of binary images. Okay, ME with binary images. So the erosion, dilation, opening and closing. Previously we discussed erosion and dilation. Now we are continuing with opening and closing. So erosion and dilation, opening and closing. These are the examples of binary images. Figure B to E show the result of applying these operations to the images. So we can observe step by step, image by image, what is happening. Here original image with white and black combinations are there. When I am going for the erosion, what is happened? Removed black. Removed black. That is nothing but a white is formed. Okay. When I am going for the dilation, added black. When I am going for the opening, what is opening here? Okay. What is happening here? Partially. So erosion and opening similarly is there, and dilation and closing are similarly there. So what is happened means, when I output, what is the final output means, after the applying the erosion, dilation, opening and closing, here how much black is there, here more black is formed. Here compared to this one, more black is formed. Okay, that is a good thing. And when I going for the original image of the structural element of binary images, the opening is nothing but a most of the unnecessary or removing the blacks of the original image. That means white, majority of white is there, and dilation means we are forming with black, means minority of whites are there. When I'm going for the opening, partially I'm removing the black, and the closing means we are partially added the black. Here removing the black and added the black. Okay, that is the differences from original image to the erosion, dilation, opening and closing images. Okay, so erosion, dilation, opening and closing. So these are applied. But what is the fifth one means? Okay, this is a different thing with these others. But here, these are the morphological Morphological binary image types: erosion, dilation, opening and closing. So opening and closing are two important operators from the mathematical morphology. They are both derived from fundamental operations of erosion and dilation. So opening and closing are similar to the erosion and dilation. Similar to the erosion and dilation. So these opening and closing are the mathematical morphological operations of binary images. These are both derived from erosion and dilation. These operators are normally applied to binary images, although there are also gray level versions. So the basic effect of opening is somewhat like erosion in that tends to remove some of the background. Okay, or pixel from edges of the region of background foreground pixels. Okay, so any of the image if I'm taking, I want to remove background. So removing the background means what is happening? Added foreground. Added foreground. So removed background is nothing but a we are added foreground. That is the thing. So here also the basic effect of opening is somewhat like erosion in that tense remove some of the foreground or brightness. Removing the brightness means we are adding the white. Removing the bright and means white is removing means black is formed. Okay, the edges are regions of foreground pixels. However, it is less descriptive than erosion in general with other morphological operators. The exact operation is determined by a structuring element. The effect of the operator is to preserve the foreground regions that have a similar shape to the structuring element or that can completely containing the structuring element while eliminating all other regions of foreground pixels. So when I'm taking the morphological image, this morphological image, the erosion is general. The morphological operators. What are the morphological operators means? Here I am taking closing and opening. So these are the two techniques here applying. The effect of the operator is to preserve foreground regions that have a similar shape to this structuring element. Okay, or that can be completely contain the structuring element while the eliminating all other regions of foreground pixels. So it is the original image opening, closing and opening followed by closing. So in the figure A, original image is there. When I go into the figure B, opening means we have removed the white. Remove the white. Here also there like this. Okay. So it is the opening. Remove white. That is opening. So when I closing this one means we are adding white, that is the closing. Okay, opening followed by closing. So here combination of opening and closing. So unnecessary things are there, this unnecessary we are removed. Okay, so figure A to figure B removed white, figure B to figure C. So figure C to D, what is happened means opening followed by closing. So opening, Opening followed by closing. So figure A to B, what is happening? Figure B to C and C to D, what is happening? That is the important thing of opening and closing. So the very simple and easy of opening is defined as an erosion followed by a dilation using the same structuring element for both operations. The opening operator therefore requires two inputs, an image to be opened and a structuring element. The gray level opening consists of simply of gray level erosion followed by a gray level dilation. So opening is a dual of closing, and opening is a foreground pixel but with a particular structuring element is equivalent to closing the background pixels with the same element. So if I am taking opening is defined as a, first I am taking the opening is the erosion. Opening is nothing but a erosion followed by a dilation using the same structuring element with the help of structuring element. The opening operator therefore requires two input of the images. Opening, what we need for opening? Opened and structuring element. So erosion and structuring element, both I need. So the gray level opening consists of gray level erosion followed by a gray level dilation. So these are under gray levels. So the opening is the dual of closing. So when I am going for the opening, it is the dual of closing. The opening is the foreground pixel with a particular structuring element is equivalent to the closing the background pixels with the same element. So it is the original image, that is the input image. After opening, what is happened means removing the white. White is removed. Definitely we are calling as a opening. Suppose we are added white, that is called closing. Okay. So original image after opening. After opening means removed unnecessary whitish. Okay. White is removed means that is nothing but a black is added. So here what is happened means background black is added to increase the pixels. Okay. Suppose here black is 10 pixels. Maybe what happened here? Black is changed to 15 pixels. Okay. So that is the opening and closing. So while erosion can be used to eliminate small clumps of undesirable background pixels, that is salt noise. Okay. So when we are going for the opening or closing or removing or adding of that one, that is we are considering as a foreground pixel of salt noise. Quite effectively, it has a big disadvantage that it will affect the regions of foreground pixels indiscriminately. See, the opening gets around this by performing both an erosion and dilation of the image, and the effect of opening can be quite easily visualized. The imaging taking the structuring element and sliding the around inside the each foreground region without changing its orientation. All pixels which can be covered by the structuring element, with the structuring element being entirely within the foreground region, will be preserved. So when I am going for the structuring element, this effect of opening or when I am going for the closing, the structuring element is added to this one. So the erosion can be used to eliminate small clumps of undesirable backgrounds. So erosion is nothing but we are removing the unnecessary clumps. That is, it is nothing but a salt noise, but foreground is improved. And opening gets around by this performing both an erosion and a dilation of the image. The effect of opening can be quite easily visualized. The image taking the structuring element and sliding it around inside the each foreground without changing its orientation. We are not changing any orientation, but we are improving the image with whitish or black colors are changed with respect to the say SE. Okay, and the pixels which can be covered by the structuring element SE, and with the structuring element being entirely within foreground region will be preserved. However, all foreground pixels of the image reached by the structuring element with parts of moving out of the foreground region will be eroded away. Okay, I'm taking here foreground. This opening has been carried out. The new boundaries of foreground regions will all be such that structuring element fit inside them, and the further openings with the same element has no effect. But it is known as a idempotence. The effect of an opening on a binary image as a 3 by 3 square structuring element is illustrated. So when I'm going for the foreground or background, it will be depending on if I want to change the foreground or background. It will be depending on your closing or opening. So figure 1 is the effect of opening using a 3 by 3 square structuring element. So it is the opening using a 3 by 3 square structuring element. So how many ones are there? Here you can see here how many ones are there. Here are we removed these ones? Here ones are removed. Here ones are removed. Okay. Here also how many number of ones are there? We removed. So that is the removed the number of ones. That means black is improved. Black is improved. That means background is increased. So when I'm going for the 3 by 3 square structuring element, the background of black is improved. Why? Because here I'm applied the opening. So that is the important thing of opening of that one, and background is changed. So the foreground of white is reduced and the background of black is improved. So as with the erosion and dilation, it's very common use of 3 by 3 structuring element. The effect of the below figure rather than subtitle, since the structuring element is quite compact and so it fits into the foreground boundaries quite well even for opening operation. To increase the effect, multiple erosions are often performed with the elements are followed by the same number of dilations. This effectively performs an opening with a larger square structuring element as considering. Okay, here the small amounts of there. Here white is highlighted, which is a binary image containing the mixture of circles and lines. Here mixture of circles. Suppose that we want to separate out of the circles from the lines so that they can contour. Here circles and lines are there. Here only circles. Here only lines. So the opening with the disc shaped structuring element 11 pixels of diameter is given. Only here 3 by 3 matrix with circles and lines. Here 3 by 3 with only circles. Here 3 by 3 with only lines. So the sum of the circles are slightly distorted, but in general the lines have been almost completely removed while the circles remain almost completely unaffected. Shows the another binary images. Suppose that this time we wish to separately extract the horizontal and vertical lines. The result of opening with 3 by 9 vertical orientation structuring element is shown. So here structuring element with operators. It shows the another binary image that the time we wish to separately extract the horizontal and vertical lines. Here horizontal and vertical lines are there. Shows that happens we use 9 into 3 horizontal oriented structuring. Here horizontal, here vertical lines are there. But these are the few glitches in that lost image where the diagonal lines cross vertical lines, and these could easily be eliminated, however, using slightly longer structuring of the element. Okay, so here horizontal and vertical separated with structuring element. So unlike erosion and dilation, the position of the origin of the structuring element does not really matter of opening and closing result is independent, but opening can be similarly used to select preserve a particular intensity pattern while attenuating others. A simple example with start of this one. Here figure A and figure B, it is a performance of gray opening with 5 by 5 matrix and the square structuring element to produce. Here I am using structuring element. So what is happened means here, so compared to this background, here it is a white is there, here black is applied. So we are improving the white to black. Okay, the pixel size are changed, flat of 5 by 5 square structuring. But what is happening means we are number of blacks are increasing. So, unlike in the erosion and dilation, the position of the origin of the structuring element does not really matter of opening and closing. The result is independent of it, and the gray level opening can be similar be used to select and preserving a particular intensity patterns while attenuating others. As a simple your example starting with 5 by 5 gray matrix opening with closing structuring element. So it is the opening means black is applied, that is the opening with structuring element. And the important thing is notice that the which bright feature smaller than the structuring element have been greatly reduced the intensity, while larger features have remained more or less unchanged in intensity. The fine grained hair and whiskers with the image have been much reduced in the intensities, while the region of still at much the same intensity of before. Note that the image does have more matter appearance of before since the opening has eliminated some small of textures eliminated. Okay, so that means closing. Here black is applied, that is the opening. So what is the closing means? That is the closing with structure element. So the important thing is to that the bright feature. So by bright means we have to reduce the bright, reducing the black. The structural element have been greatly reduced in intensity, while larger features have remained more or less unchanged in the intensities. The fine-grained whiskers in the image have been much reduced in the intensity, while the region is still at much the same intensities before. Note that the image does not have more appearances than before since the opening has eliminated the small spectaculars or text fluctuations are there. Here we are combining opening and closing with morphology. The combining opening and closing can be quite effective in removing the noise. Okay, so what is the removing the noise means? We are applying opening and closing. So combining the opening and closing, it can be quite effective to removing the noise as illustrated. Okay, here I'm taking figure A, figure B, and figure C. So figure A is a noisy. Why I'm calling noise means here you can see here white dots are there surrounding to the fingerprints. In the meanwhile also, when I'm going for the checking of this one, noise that is dotted white. So we have to remove. How can we remove? Means we are using the opening and with the square structuring element of size, and result of closing with the same structuring element. Okay. So when I going for the structuring element, result of opening means black is applied or added to the input image. So this white is there. So we are applying the black, means we are changing from 1 to 0. So white is converted to the black. Here I am applied the opening technique. Here applied the opening. That means the background of white dots are converted to the black. So the pixels are changed as the structuring element of size of 3 pixels, and the result of closing. Closing means what are the unnecessary black we have to apply. So then I'm going to the closing. What is happening means black is removed. So what is a black means? Unnecessary. So unnecessary black is removed. So it is a combining of opening and closing. It is an input, opening and closing. Okay. So from the above figure, the noise was removed by opening the image, but this process introduced numerous gaps in the ridges of the fingerprint. So when we are going for the removing the noise, combine the opening and closing. So these gaps can be filled by the following opening with a closing operations. So what are the gaps are there in the between the images? These images we are forming the opening with closing operation. So the noise is removed with the opening of the image, but this process is introduced to the numerous gaps in the bridges or fingerprints, that these ridges can be removed. These gaps are filled by the following the opening and closing operation. So it is one example of result of closing with square structuring element of size 10 pixels. So here black is there, here there is no black. So what is happened means remove black. So what is happened here? 10 pixels are changed to the 20 pixels. So it is structuring element, it is a input image. So structuring element here taking, suppose I have to keep the structuring element here. So how many ones are there? How many ones are there? Here I am keeping like this. Here we are keeping like this. So how many structuring elements are mapped? So that is we are forming with this one. Okay, it is one example of input image. I have applied the closing here. So what is happened here? Closing means here these values are changed. So what is happened means so black is removed in the foreground. I am not touching any of the background, only foreground. So you can observe here only foreground means object. Only object I changed. So object is changed. Here background is changed. That means we have removed the white. So in the closing only foreground. Here only foreground. When I am going for the opening, only background. Okay. When I am applying the closing technique for foreground, when I am opening for the background. Okay. That is the important of closing and opening. So Closing is similar in some ways to dilation in that it tends to enlarge the boundaries of foreground or brightness regions in an image to shrinking the background color holes in such regions, but is less destructive of the original boundary shape. But in the other morphological operators, the exact operation is determined by the structuring element SE. So, the effect of the operator is to preserve the background regions that have a similar shape to the structuring element or that can be completely contain the structuring element while eliminating all other regions of background pixels. Closing is opening performed in reverse. It is defined simply as a dilation followed by an erosion using the same structuring element if both operations. See the sections of erosion and dilation for detail. Okay, erosion and dilation are simple for the closing and opening. So the closing operator therefore refers to two inputs of the image, that is closed structure element. The gray level closing straightforwardly of a gray level dilation followed by gray level, and the closing is a dual of opening. The closing is a foreground pixel with a particular structuring element is equivalent to the closing of the background of the same element. So these are the references of closing and opening, but here we discussed today opening and closing. So the input images are two types. The input images are two types: opening process and closing process. In the opening process, erosion process after then dilation. In the closing process, dilation and erosion process. Okay. After the erosion, dilation. Here dilation to erosion. Okay. So images are two types. So it is the one original with erosion, means here removing the black, here added the black, here removed the black, here added, like this. So opening and closing are the two important operators from the mathematical morphology. They are both derived from the fundamental operations of erosion and dilation. These operators are normally applied to the binary images, although there are also gray level operations. Okay. So when I am going for the gray level, that is a white and black are applied. The basic effect of opening is somewhat like erosion, in that it tends to remove some of the foreground bright from the edges of the regions of foreground pixels. However, it is less destructive than erosion in general. The morphological operators, the exact operation is determined by structuring element. The effect of the operator is to preserve foreground regions that have similar shape to the structuring element, but the structuring element while the eliminating all the other regions of foreground. Okay, if you foreground or background, which one you are applying? Okay, so foreground is for closing, background is for opening. So original image with opening means unwanted white is removed, and here is there any white is added. Okay, here removed and here added. Here finally opening of image with respect to the closing. So opening is defined as a erosion followed by the dilation using the some structuring element for both operations. The opening operator therefore requires two inputs of an image to be opened and a structuring element, but the gray level consists of simply the white and black is there, but the gray level erosion by a gray level dilation. Opening is a dual of closing. Okay, so opening here I'm taking as a closing. So the opening is a foreground pixel and the closing is a background pixel. So here the original image after the opening. Opening means removed the white, background black is added and white is removed. That is the opening. And while we are going for the erosion is used to eliminate small clumps of undesirable foreground pixels, that is a salt noise. But the opening gets around the performing of both an erosion and dilation of the image. But the effect of opening can be easily visualized. The image can be taking easily of the structuring element with the change in its orientation. But the structuring element with the structuring is given by the foreground region will be preserved. The foreground pixels which cannot be reached by the structuring element without parts of moving out of the foreground region will be encoded. But the opening has been carried out. The new boundaries of foreground region will be such that the structuring element fits inside them and the further opening with the same element with no effect of this one. So the idempotence is the effect of opening of a binary image with a 3 by 3 size. The structuring element is illustrated as in the figure. Okay, here the number of ones removed, that is so the effect of opening using the 3 by 3 square structuring of the element, and the erosion and dilation are the very important. Here the circles and lines are there. With the help of erosion, where circles are changed. So here we are separated, circles are separated, and lines are separated. Okay, so these are the circles slightly distorted, with the line have been almost completely removed, and the binary image of the time we can wish to separately exciting the horizontal and vertical images are there. Here these are the horizontal and the vertical images are there. This could be eliminated using a slightly longer structuring elements of this one. Here one example, the performing of the gray level opening. Okay, only white and black is there with 5 by 5 structuring element. We are improving the blackish color. For the better identification, I was added black. I was removed white. Here, the important thing of bright features of the images are nothing but according with the structuring element, we are reducing the intensities. We are changing the intensities. That is one black to white or white to black. Okay, and the image does not have the more appearance before the opening has eliminated and a small spectaculars of texture fluctuations. So, combining opening and closing. What is the need of combining the opening and closing morphology? To remove the noise from the original image, the better way is to combining the opening and closing of the morphology. So, morphology is nothing but it is a binary elements of the given image. So, here the background are some unwanted white dots are there. So, we have to remove with the help of opening process. We are applied the black. Opening means we are applied the black, means the background of white is changed with black, but somewhat so white is dominated with black. Again I am going for the closing method to again getting back of the image. Okay, we have removed the noise with the help of opening and closing morphology, and it is one example of resulting of closing with square structuring element of 10 to 20, and we are changing the structure element according with the input image. It is I'm taking as a 1 by 3 pixel. So here better example of virtual image with closing means foreground is changed. So the foreground is completely white. Here background completely black. So foreground completely white means closing applied. Here opening means background is completely black. That is opening is applied. Okay, and closing and opening are the best morphological operators of the structuring element. So these are similar to the erosion and dilation of the individual process. Okay, it is about erosion and dilation, opening and closing. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.